man in the lowest all share. No, I'll bear my own burden, I'll carry the weight of the world if I have to. No, I'm not afraid, I know how it will happen. I've seen it all clear as the day. He's gonna come my way like lightning thunder. Only in Him will I know it's my day. Only then I'm gonna go like the sunset. There will be nothing for no one to bury without me in my head. Thousands of days we're asleep, even while we're awake. With our bodies beginning to fail as we open our eyes. And I may have lived harder than most, but it's a choice that I made. Nobody gets what they want without paying. So don't tell me you're sorry like someone's to blame. I knew when I signed up for the hell with the pain, and I know how my day's gonna come. It looks nothing like that. He's gonna come my way like lightning thunder. Only then will I know it's my day. Only then I'm gonna go like the sunset. There will be nothing for no one to bury without me in my head. I see angels and demons right here on the ground. Still we make such a fuss about heaven and hell, son. If my maker wants me, he can come and tell me himself.
That's it. Friends. Welcome, Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage. Welcome to the Guitar Show. It is March the 24th. That fun little ditty there is by Gabriel the Bull, a new project that I'm working with that I absolutely love because, well, I get to use the Gretsch in all things cowboy, and I'm just a cowboy at heart probably, or I don't know. I just love any sounds like that, so so glad that you guys are here today. What we're going to be talking about is tripling your chord vocabulary with the most common extensions. Okay, so we're going to do this in just a moment. Let's list some things before we do. I'm going to be with you for the next hour. I'm going to be answering questions for you. I'm going to be teaching you about the most common chord extensions, suspended, sevenths, and ninths. And I'm going to show you how to do this super easy. You don't need any theory to do this. It's just pretty easy, super easy, okay? So we're going to be talking about that. So yes, Gabriel the Bull is a new project that I'm working with. In fact, we're having our first live show tomorrow. And it's not really a show. I think we're doing 2 songs if tornadoes aren't present. So that's what we're going to be doing. If you would like to know more about Gabriel the Bull, thank you, Emmy. She just put that right there, right on the screen. Instagram, YouTube. I think we just did a video too, a little fun live video there. You can check that out. I think he has it posted. I don't know. But check it out, GabrielTheBull.com. Okay, other things. There's a couple different ways. If you'd like to donate today, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, I think it's still available right next to the little smiley face. I'm not seeing it right now, but usually there's a little like dollar symbol there. You can click on it. You can donate if you'd like to donate to the burrito fund, then we would love to do that. We're doing this later in the day here because we're doing live broadcasts with our UGS members today, and we said let's do one later for folks that don't get to view us during the day. So we'll be doing this once a month, I think. Okay. Okay. Also, tip jar. You can see that right at the top there. That little blue strip there. If you want to avoid giving 30% to Google, please hit that, and we'd prefer you to, actually. If you hit that buy me a coffee, then Google doesn't get their 30% for doing what? Anyhow, yes. All right, thank you so much for that. All right, we're going to get into it. Just one second. A couple other things. I'm going to talk about it a lot when the questions come up. I have the top 30 lessons that I give all my students for free. Everybody. You don't have to pay anything. That's the first link below, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Okay? It's the first or second. Just check it. YourGuitarSage.com/30. There it is, right there. Or if you are driving, let's say you're not driving. Let's say you're at the doctor's office or something like that, and you don't have access to getting into the course for free and all that. Text me, 833-744-0154. Right there. Text free. And I'll get that text, and I'll say, cool. And I'll set you up with the course. That's all, okay? If you're a UGS member already and you want text communications with us, type in UGS. Otherwise, you have access to all those videos already. Okay, there's that. There's the Dueling Ninja. Friends, we have a handful of these left. We got a brand new shipment of them, and they've been going out the door like hotcakes. If you don't know about this, I'm not telling you about it right now for folks that know about it. But if you want to know about it and you want a badass pedal that does 3 different overdrives independently, together, whatever you want, we have them. That's the Dueling Ninja, okay? It's a beast. Okay, there's that. Second link below is Jeff Duke's speed picking course. If you've ever wanted to be a fast speed picker, it takes certain disciplines and certain ways to approach the instrument. Jeff Duke, one of our artists here at YourGuitarSage, has created a killer speed picking course. It just dropped yesterday. It's normally, I don't know, $50 or so. I don't know what it is. Normally somewhere around that area, 45, 50, 60, something like that. And I believe it's somewhere around $10 right now. I should have the exact numbers, but it's very close to that. Second link below. If you're on our email list, this is what we do, is we work with artists all the time and we provide these courses. One of the things that we ask our artists was like, look, we want to provide these courses that we're making together super cheap for our YourGuitarSage family, and they've all obliged, have been super kind about it, and that course is available to you now. All right, what's coming up? And then we're going to get into the lesson here. If you like jazz, we have Chip Henderson, who just did a course. He's going to be coming up, and Joe Robinson is doing 3 with us, a beginner, intermediate, and advanced fingerstyle. We just got done editing the very first one, the beginner fingerstyle. It was 5.5 hours long and like over 120 videos. So super, super detailed stuff. If you're in UGS, we go down the rabbit hole as far as finger picking, and even that, with 1,000-something videos inside that course, we don't go down the rabbit hole like Joe does on finger picking, okay? So if you're interested in that, check that out, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to teach you these concepts here right now, and then I'm going to take your questions. Cool? All right, here we go. So here is what you need to know in order to triple your chord vocabulary. Now, any chord that you're playing, you could create you could add a 7th, or you could add a 9th, or you could add an 11th, also known as a suspension. I'm going to make this super simple, okay? Super duper simple. There's one thing you do need to know. The major scale. You got to know the major scale. If you don't know the major scale, this isn't going to work. Do you know the major scale? I think you do. It's the one that goes like this. Super simple, right? We can do this on one single string. We can do it across the strings, but if we were doing it across one string, any note that you start at, I play my note, and as long as I say, well, first off, a half step's the distance between one fret and the next. That's a half step. And a whole step is 2, half step. So from here to here is a whole step, and from here to here is a half step. Half step, whole step. Get it? Good. Now we know that. We literally can take this pattern, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So 2 holes and a half, 3 holes and a half. That will get us a major scale every single time in every single key. We're going to start at this note. We don't even have to know the name of this note. Here's a major scale based off of this note. Now we're going to say whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, that's the major scale. Sounds like that. So many different ways one can play a scale. So many different ways, but it's all the same notes at the end of the day. Now here's the deal. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then this last one we could call 1, or we could call it 8. Hence the name octave. Octave. So oct meaning 8, right? Like octopus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's all we need to know is we need to know the names of the numbers, just like we're walking up the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how the Nashville number system is based upon. And so the only thing we need to do in order to embellish these chords is we need to take the chords that we know already and then add that particular note. Okay? Super easy. And the reason we could triple our chord vocabulary is you could take any major chord or any minor chord and you could throw a 7th into it. And then you could throw a 9th into it. And then you could throw an 11th into it. And what we mean by 7th, 9th, and 11th is the note inside of the scale. Okay, so for instance, if I want to put a 9 in a chord, I would play, let's say I want to do it on a G chord. That's a G. So if I go up to 9 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I take that note and I put it into my G major chord, then I would get something like this. In fact, I'm going to play this note, right, which is an A. I'm going to play it up here, just because fingering-wise, that's going to make way more sense than trying to bar this up here and get this with some finger that I don't have beyond my first finger. Okay, so I'm going to play G major, and if we want to add the 9th, here it is up top. Okay. Now, if I want to play what's called an add 9, it's just the major chord. And in fact, I would just play the top part here because fingering-wise, it may not work out. But that's a G major chord. And then here's my 9. So if I want just a G major, so I take that. This is the 1 or the 8, and then 8, 9. Okay. So remember, when we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this could be an 8 or it could be a 1. If it were a 1, then this would be a 2, you know, and so on. 3, 4, 5, that sort of thing. So we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can keep doing that. Or we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we have our other extensions like a 9, an 11, a 13, that sort of thing. And so those are just scale degrees. That's all they are. So if we add it to the chord, we get to have our extension. So we could think if we wanted to have a 9th thrown in, then we just need to either find the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or we can take a 1 and go up 1 scale step from it. So this is an 8 or a 1. If it's a 1, then this would be a 2. If this is an 8, then this would be a 9. It's just the next note up. Whatever you call it, it's still the same note, okay? And technically, if it's, you know, there's some technicalities there that we could get into. We're not going to. I'm going to get in the weeds if I do with you guys. But essentially, a 2 is a 9, okay? So, and that moves the same way. A 1 is an 8, a 2 is a 9, a 3 is a 10, a 4 is an 11. That's why our suspended chords, some people refer to them as 9th chords. I'm sorry. They refer to a suspended chord as an 11. They have the same tonality, but they're not the exact same thing, but they do have the 11 representing in both of them, okay? The 11 or the 4. Again, just add 7 to it, and you're going to get the other number. So If we wanted to triple our chord vocabulary with any, let's do this. Let's start with the suspended. It's a little bit easier. So you've played this chord before, a D chord, and then you have the D suspended, right? You know? Or if you are a fan of Smashing Pumpkins and you've played Tonight Tonight, you starts off with that G chord. So you have that G chord here, and here's the suspension. Right? So this note here, watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's our 11th note in the scale, also known as the 4. 11 minus 7 is 4. So we can call it the 4 as well. Same principle. When we get into some later jazz theory, we could talk about why there's a difference between the 4 and the 7. But essentially, we're talking about the same color, the same note, the same flavor. Okay? So there's that note right there. I'm just playing it inside the... Now, when we play a suspended chord, the 4 is in lieu of the 3. Okay, so a major chord is like a 1, 3, 5 from the major scale. So if instead of the 3, there's the 3, 1, 2, 3, or 3 is a B, all the same note there. And so if that's the 3, then the half step above it's the 4, and then we could do that to any chord in order to make it suspended. If we took a D chord, if you know where the 3 is, or you could use your scale, 1, 2, 3, then that would be the note that would have to be extended. If it was an E major, you have... This is why knowing the framework of your chords is very helpful. Knowing where the 1, the 3, and the 5 is, all that's very helpful because then you can embellish chords. And instead of memorizing tens of thousands of chords, you can literally just learn how to embellish them, and you have access to all those tens of thousands of chords. You never actually had to learn them. You just had to learn the math, right? Eric, that sounds impossible. No, it's not impossible. Think about it. It's a method. You haven't counted to 1 billion, have you? I haven't, but I know I could do it. I know I could, because I know it goes tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billion, right? It's just a decimal point that moves over plus the 9. So we learn a system, and that's what we do. That's what the pros do. They learn systems. They want to learn scales. They're not necessarily learning everything rote, right? Most of the time, they're not if they have a good teacher that can teach them not to do that, but to learn things through association. Okay, and so if you know a chord and you know where the third's at and you can raise that note, then you're good. Now, for some of you right now, you're scratching your head and you're saying, he said we weren't going to need any music theory. And what I'm telling you is, there is no way to get away from anything music theory. If you tune your guitar, you're using music theory. If you play a note, you're using music theory. You're using knowledge. You're playing a particular note for a particular reason that's using music theory, okay? That's the very simple version of it. But if you're doing any sort of playing at all in time or in tune, you're using theory. So let's get that out of the way, straight out. But what I'm telling you is you don't need some deep sense of music theory in order to be able to do this embellishment bit here. You just need to know the major scale. If you don't know the major scale, first link below, YourGuitarSage.com/30. I promise you, go through that. It's super easy, but you got to go through it. Otherwise, you're not going to understand the basic concepts, okay? All right, so in order to create a suspension, okay, then we just, instead of a 3, we play the 4. That's all we do. Instead of 3, play the 4 instead. And that note always wants to resolve. That's why they call it suspended, because it sounds like the note's floating in the air and it wants to resolve. Make sense? Easy enough. Find the 3 and then bring it up to a 4. Okay, so that doubles your chord vocabulary because you could do that with any major or minor chord, and you would use that as an embellishment, right? Okay, let's triple it. Okay, so the way to triple this is, in fact, we'll quadruple it today. So we're going to, we doubled it, right? Now let's triple it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do sevenths. And you can do this with any major or minor chord. And this is how it works. Super easy. We'll do it the long way so you understand it. Friend AJ Gent is in the chat right now. You do not want to miss this cat. Okay? He's a beast of a guitar player that we just found out about. He's doing great on TikTok right now, and we're going to play an excerpt from him. You're going to have your mind blown, okay? That's all I'm saying. Check it out. Just hold on, okay? It's coming up in just a few minutes, actually. So, AJ, thanks so much for being here, buddy. Okay, so going back to sevenths. So this is how sevenths work. You take a major scale. Again, always goes back to the major scale. It's the benchmark for everything musical. If you don't know the major scale, that's the one thing. It's like a hammer if you are a carpenter. You got to have it. Or, you know what it is? It's a tape measure. It's a ruler. It's a square. If you don't have that, your house is going to be wonky, okay? So major scale, we're always going back to it. This is how we identify notes. This is how we build things, chords, scales, songs. So we're taking our scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a seventh chord, right? Okay, we're not going to take this note. We're going to drop this down a half step. This is called the flat 7. Okay, we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But this is a flat 7, also known as a minor 7, not to be confused with the chord minor 7. It's just an interval. The interval is the distance between two notes. Could be a major 7, could be a minor 7. Okay, in this case here it's a minor 7. Or let's make it easier, we'll call it a flat 7. Flat is when we lower a note. Here's the 7th. Here's where we flatten it. There it is. Now here's the secret. If you know your octave, which is always down 2 strings and up 2 frets, at least on these lower chords, on 6th and 5th string chords, you go, if this is a G, you go down 2 strings, 1, 2, up 2 frets, 1, 2, it's a G, 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 easy. If this is an A, down 2 strings, up 2 frets, it's an A. Easy enough, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to find this octave and go down one whole step. Okay, so here we go. We learned a whole step. Here's a half step, here's a whole step. That's the note we want. So if you play a major chord, instead of playing that pinky, go down to here and play that chord. Super easy. You're already barring it. So just lift that pinky up. That's all you do. So instead of my pinky being down, it's times 12 chords. That's like literally it. And you could do this with any one of these. If you took an A major chord, take this A major chord. Here's an A. It's on the open A string. You're going to go down two strings. 1, 2, up 2 frets. 1, 2. That should be an A. Look at there it is. Whew, lucky me. Well, there you go. There's the A. So if I wanted to make that a 7th, again, here's my scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So we're looking for the flat 7. So here's my 7, here's the flat 7. So I play my regular A major chord, but instead of playing an A, I play a whole step lower. Easy enough, right? Okay, so that's 7th chords. That just tripled your chord vocabulary. You can do that with any major or minor chord. If it's with a major chord, now you're playing what's called a 7th chord. So here's G major, here's G7. Okay? If this was a minor chord, I would just play that. If I wanted to do that minor trick here, I lift that pinky up, that puts that note a whole step behind because I'm barring it. Now we have a minor 7th. Kind of jazzy sounding, okay? One more I'm going to show you really quick, and then we're going to drop this video of AJ playing. Absolute beast. You got to check this guy out, okay? Ninths. Let's talk about them real quick. So we did fourths, or what we call 11ths, or what we call suspensions. Now an 11 chord and a suspension chord technically are different, but they have the same note represented, which is the 11th or the 4th, same note by letter name. And they sound very similar, and they do very similar things. So just FYI, okay? But there is a slight difference there, okay? We're not getting into it today. We can't. Not enough time. Let's talk about a ninth. If we want to play a ninth, subtract 7 from 9, we got 2, right? So you can either just find your 1, whatever your tonic is. If we're playing a G chord, there's a G, there's a G. You know, these are the same notes, right? Because they're both E strings. So, of course, those are both Gs. So if that's the 1, then if I add this note, that's my 9. So if I have a 7th chord that I'm playing and I want to add a 9 to it, I just put my pinky right there. Okay. Technically, I could play this 2 here as my bass note, but usually you're going to put those higher extensions higher up in the voicing. Okay. So there you go. Take an A chord. Again, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that guy right there is a B. So technically I could do this. That's called an A add 9. You guys have probably seen this one. It's a pretty popular chord. And there it is. I mean, it's just literally that B string open. Now, technically, it's not a 9th chord because a 9th chord should have the 7th added in it. So what we call this is an add 9 chord. An add 9 chord means take a major chord, throw a 9th into it. That's literally all it is. You just quadrupled your chord vocabulary. Congratulations. If you have questions about this, just watch it again. Otherwise, and if you're not inside the Unstoppable Guitar System standard at the very minimum, friends, you have to be in that. It's free. I give it to you for free, friends. It's like 30-something videos, maybe 35 videos of my best stuff I give you for free. It's step by step. It doesn't cost you anything. The very first link below, make sure you go to it, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Okay? Now, I'm going to take your questions here, but I want you to check out AJ. Mike, do you have that clip ready?
I do.
Okay. AJ is in the chat here, so I want you guys to let him know what a badass he is. Okay, let's check this out. Tell me when you get it. All right, what's that?
We'll try it again.
Okay, we had some issues with that, so as soon as we're ready, Mike will let me know. Okay, something froze up on it. I'm not too sure, but
I'll just try again.
okay, right now. All right, that is Let the Guitar Sing by AJ Gent. Isn't that amazing? You know, you see a lot of slide players, but that kind of slide playing takes an incredible amount of practice, an incredible amount of intonation. If you've never tried to play slide guitar, right? We did a slide course with RJ Ronquillo, another badass slide player. And when when you're learning how to play slide, unlike how I did it at the beginning of this program, because that's just very, very, very light slide, you have to be directly over that fret wire. You can't be in between the two frets, otherwise this note that we're supposed to be at would sound like this. Right? So it has to be right over that fret wire. Then you have the vibrato, which is back and forth. And as you can see what AJ's doing there, he's using, almost looks like a bottle, like an actual bottle. But nonetheless, the amount of accuracy that's needed to do that, especially how he's singing across one string. I love that he named that song, Let the Guitar Sing, because it's just like, it literally sounds like some woman in church just like doing trills and going all through the scale. It's absolutely amazing. So AJ, fabulous job. Thank you so much for being here in the chat, and let AJ know that you guys love him. Also, I believe that we have AJ's information inside of the description of this video. So go check him out. Follow him on Instagram. Like I said, we just found him there on TikTok. Just amazing, amazing player, right? Amazing. Okay, great. Thank you so much, AJ. Okay, let's get to some questions here. Let's dig in. For the 7th and 9th, is the 3rd that gets replaced, or is the 7th flat or 9th just an additional note added to the chord? Question. Yeah, it's a beautiful question, Carol, who is also in our Unstoppable Guitar System. She just did live with us. We're going live like 4 other times today for those of you that are inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. Okay, so Carol is saying for the 7th and 9th, is the 3rd the thing that gets replaced, or is it the 7th, the flat, or the 9th, or an additional note added to the chord? Great question. So Carol, when you're talking about a suspended chord or a 7th, suspended or 11th, think about the 4, the 11, and the suspension being basically the same note by name. Okay, if it's a B, it's a B. All 3 of them are Bs. It's the same note. Maybe in different octaves, but it's the same note. Okay, so an 11th or a 4 is a replacement for the 3. You could have a chord that has a 3 and an 11 in it. But if you had a chord that had a 3 and a 4 in it, they're only separated by a half a step. And it would not sound as nice as separating the notes by like doing a 3 and an 11. Okay? So usually when we're playing a suspension chord like a D, we're going to play the 4 in replacement of the 3, and then it's going to sound good. Otherwise, if we didn't, you're going to have a different sound. So for instance, like here's a G. Okay, if we wanted to have this suspended, let's see if I can do this here. Would sound something like this. Now this is me playing the 3rd and the 4th. Hold on. Let's do this. Let's say, how can I even form that chord? Let's do something like this. Those 2 notes are going to fight each other. Let me do a portion of that chord. It sounds like this. These 2 notes are fighting each other because they're only a half step apart. But if I did the 3rd down here and I didn't play the 3rd up top, and I just played the 4th and the 3rd, the 3rd and the 11th, not the 3 and the 4, because they're bumping up against each other. We want the 3 and the 11. Then we have that nice suspended sound. Okay. Now, when it comes to the 7ths and the 9ths, those are added. Okay. So usually, now there's what we call chord substitution or note substitution within chords. So if you need to sacrifice a note, it's done. Okay, in music, and there are some rules to it as you learn jazz theory, as I teach inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. There are some rules for that we're not going to get into today. But for the most part, 7ths are always going to be added to the chord because they're easily accessible from that octave that I mentioned. And same thing with a 9th. You just add it right here to the top. So here's my major chord. Here's my 7th chord. So we're adding a note by taking away a note. Okay, so, and if I want to add the 9th, I just do it right here at the top. So those are new. Those are new notes, if you will. All right. Awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay. Question, can you discuss guitar setup? How often should it be done? Or should I learn how to do it or pay a pro to do it? Thank you. Dean, it depends on your obsession. If you're obsessed with things like that, then it's a super fun thing to learn. It's not too terribly difficult, and but you can get better and better and better at it. I prefer to have an expert do those sorts of things at everything now. It's like, yes, it costs money, but does it cost money if it costs you time and then it's not quite right anyhow? So I'm a big fan of just paying the money to have it done, but have it done correctly, personally. Otherwise, if you want to get into it, if you want to dabble into it or dabble with it a little bit, check out YouTube or Udemy. I'm sure has some courses on setting those sorts of things up. And now, how often? I have it done twice a year. I have it done in the spring. I should be having it done any day now. I got a gig tomorrow. Would have been nice if it was done this week, but I let my strings rest a few days and stretch them and what have you. I wouldn't have it done the night before a gig just because the guitar's going to settle a bit and the strings will settle. So, but I do it when the seasons change, so spring and fall. And that's when most people do it if they're going to do it a few times a year. And honestly, I don't like to change strings, so that's when I change strings too. So I change my strings twice a year. And Greg Ellis, my guitar tech for years now, is the guy who does that. He's an absolute beast, and he's just amazing at it. So love it. Okay, great question, Dean. By the way, friends, to make it a little easier for you, all caps for the questions. That'll make it easier, so you don't have to keep up with low caps, high caps, and then a question mark at the end. That'll help me to see it, for it to jump out. Okay? Okay, question. Is there a faster way to voice chords up the neck other than just slowly figuring out each note by note? Samuel, yes. Enter the cage system. There's a system called the caged system. Lots of videos for it on YouTube. I have a whole course for it inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System, and I have videos for you for free on YouTube. Just search YourGuitarSage Caged, C-A-G-E-D. The reason that it's called the cage system is it's based off of the chord shapes C, A, G, E, and D. Okay? C major, A major, G major, E major, and D major. All those chords, well, there's five of those, right? 5 open major chords. That's all there are. That's all there are. There's only 5 major open chords. The F is not open. It's based off of E major, right? So there are really only 5, C, A, G, E, and D. And the cool thing is they move up linearly across the fretboard in that order. At least the shapes do, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I can only talk about this for a second because I want to get to more questions and I have videos to actually fulfill all this. But this is how it goes, Samuel. Here's a C chord with a C formation. Here's a C chord with an A formation based off of the A chord. Here's a C chord with a G formation. Oh, sorry. Here it is. Okay? Because it's based off of what a G chord looks like. But with a C bass note, it becomes a C major chord. Here is the C chord with an E formation. It's not an E chord because this is an E chord. This is a C chord because it looks like an E chord, but it's got the C in the bass, so it's just a major form, and so we have E form of the C chord. And here's the D form of the C chord. So here's the same chord every time. Slightly different voicings, but the same 3 notes, the same 3 ingredients all the time. We could keep going. C, A, G, E, and D. So if you want more information about that, which is a great question, Samuel, search Caged or search YourGuitarSage Caged and you'll find it, okay? All right. Also, we answered that one for Brandon as well. Good. What's up, Jeff? How's it going, my friend? Love the channel. One of my go-to YT spots. Ah, beautiful, Jake. Thank you so much. I'm going to zip all the way to the top of the chat just to see if there's any other questions. Mike, are there not a lot of people in today's live show, or is it just the chat more quiet?
We're about 150.
150. Wow, that's about half of what we get during the day.
There you go.
Why is that? So maybe people are just coming home. Well, People coming home from work, probably. And then some folks aren't even off yet.
This is an experiment.
Experiment, yeah, that's what we do. We're always experimenting. What's up, Dan in Florida? Nice. Okay, beautiful. All right, looking for a question here kind of towards the top. Okay, is using my snark the same? Yeah, snarks are good. Use them all the time. Haha. All right. All right, question. For older players, do you do any specific hand exercises after long practice sessions to help stretch your hands? Ryan, I've heard of people, just doing the basic, yoga type stuff. Hyperextending what it is, if you're used to being able to do this, and you do the opposite, hyperextending, right? So just doing this sort of thing. I have a video on carpal tunnel from one of my students who monkey gripped the guitar all the time. He's just so much passion. And I said, buddy, you can't do that. You're going to mess up your hands. He no listen to me. Many years later, we did a video on carpal tunnel because he had it really bad. In fact, he had surgery. I'm pretty sure he had surgery. And so we have a video on that. So you could search YourGuitarSage carpal tunnel. But doing that, like stretching, is really helpful. Some people laugh at this. That's just because they don't have the knowledge. But what you eat has a lot to do with that sort of thing too, because you can build inflammation in your system. There's obviously other things too. If you're taking over the counters and stuff like that, or stressed out all the time or what have you, can cause acidosis in the system, which causes arthritis and tendonitis, finger swelling, and all sorts of things like that. So, but just go with what feels good. You know what I mean? Stretching, putting your fingers in the opposite positions, and just give them a nice slow stretch. That's always very helpful to do with anything, with your legs, with your back, anything. Use it or lose it. Right? Okay. Any suggested IRs you use? I don't know what that is. IRs, you'll have to let me know what that means. How often do you go live and what topics do you cover? Classes. Jonathan, we cover, my goodness, how many times do we go live? Well, we go live every single week on YouTube, right? So 52 times a year there. And then for folks inside of UGS, we go live another 48 times with, like, this is how to walk through the website, here's where to go, personal questions, that sort of thing, or personal guitar questions. But those are just for the folks that are inside of UGS, UGS Pro. UGS Standard and UGS Classic don't have access to that, but still have access to some amazing videos. Standard is the very first link below, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Otherwise, we talk about everything. I mean, we talk about technique, we talk about rock guitar, blues guitar, we've talked about jazz guitar, chord voicings. I mean, you name it, we have so much, okay? Jonathan, if you want to get plugged in with what we do, there's one thing to do. Join Standard. It's absolutely free for you. The very first link below, YourGuitarSage.com/30. If you do that, you'll be plugged in with us. You can unsubscribe. You can do whatever you want to do, but I can help you if you're plugged in with us. Okay? Otherwise, I don't know what you need, what you want, okay? Can you talk about how to play the seventh chords? Yeah, we did that already, Jeff. So let me know specifically if you have a specific question, okay? Eric, what's your favorite pizza topping? Ooh, that's a great question. I would say my favorite pizza topping, well, besides marinara sauce, my favorite pizza topping would probably be pineapples or onions or mushrooms or peppers, but probably in that order, honestly. It's dinner time here, so I'm thinking about it all. Actually, I'm doing a new thing here the last few days here. I've been just doing one meal a day, the OMAD diet, one meal a day. And I feel great doing that. So I'm probably going to do that some more. And boy, when I do eat, get your hands out of the way because you might lose a finger. Not as many folks because it's dinner. Oh, I know. Yep. Oh, thank you so much, Nicholas. Everybody try UGS and then join. I swear it won't cost you to try, and you'll love it, indeed. And if you really want to try the whole enchilada after you do the 30 days, you could literally, for $1, try the whole enchilada out for 30 days. Okay, the first 30, you have them for a lifetime. But if you want to try the whole system out, yeah, $1, you get to try it all out. 1,000-something videos, live broadcast from me and everything else, $1. Okay, hi there. Any tips on how to learn to play without relying on the likes of Ultimate Guitar app? I find to play a full song, and sometimes I heavily rely on that. Many things. Yes, indeed. David, the only way to get a muscle strong is to use that muscle. I know, not what you wanted to hear. People say, man, I really want to be good at finances. Well, you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to save. No, I want to make more money. No, you're going to have to save. I don't want to lose weight. Okay, it means you're going to have to not eat some stuff. You know what I mean? It's always that. So, I know, we don't like that. But once we embrace that, then we can move on from the whining. Not whining, you know what I'm talking about. But, okay, so when we become reliant on charts, I'm one. I used to do that all the time. When I moved to Nashville here, I was all about charts because we didn't do charts back home. We memorized songs. It seems so professional to me to be reading a chart. So I started writing charts and looking at those charts. Nothing wrong with them. They're neither here nor there. If should you need one, they're great. If you don't need one, why have it? So, but this is how it works. It's just like if you've ever learned to touch type, which I did in high school. And then when I went into corporate America many years ago, I stopped looking at the document that I was typing, and I would look at my hands. And then I became reliant on looking at my hands, and I didn't trust myself, even though I knew how to do it. I took one day, and I said, I'm just going to type this document, and I'm not going to look at my hands. And I learned it very quickly because I had learned it at one point. So my case in point here is, if you don't want to rely on charts, tablature, that sort of thing, then you can't rely on it, meaning you have to separate yourself from it, because as long as it's there, you're going to look. I have a video that's called like Hit the Lights or something like that. And essentially it's about, if you want to learn the fretboard without looking at it, don't not look at it, turn the lights off. The reason being is, the second you have a problem, you're going to look at the guitar. It's instinctual. You're going to be like trying to play your scale right, you're going along. There we go. You're just going to look automatically. But if it's dark, then you're gonna, because you can't see anything, you're gonna figure out the note. It's gonna kick in, okay? So if you want to not rely on those things, don't use them. Wean yourself off from them, okay? And the way you do that is through repetition. The only way you can memorize something, well, I say the only way, the way that we use the most is repetition. Okay, there is obviously association, which I'm a big fan of, is using association. But even then, we're still putting stuff new into memory. And so the way you're going to do that is not use that crutch. That's very natural for the brain to go to the crutch. Nothing wrong with crutches, but use them when you want them. In this case here, you don't want them, so don't do it. Okay, and when you do that, when you are just reliant on your ear, then you automatically are going to do it, okay? The stuff that we just heard AJ play, right? He's using his ear. I mean, yes, he's using his eyes at the same time, but I guarantee you, if you blindfolded him, he's going to be doing his muscle memory at some point, right? Whatever you believe about muscle memory, it's memorization, okay? And it's built into his DNA now. At this point, only because of that repetition all the time. Marine Mama, so kind. Thank you so much. Thank you. She just donated $15. So beautiful. Thank you, Eric, for all you do for our veterans. Please say a prayer for my son-in-law, D-Day, May 26th, for a year deployment to Afghanistan. We'll do it. I know that. Can't imagine, Marine Mama. So our hearts are with you, and I will say a prayer. And thank you so much for the kindness always. So sweet. We love our veterans. Very grateful. All right. You know, the other thing you can do, David, is this. Let's talk. I just talked about this in one of my live broadcasts. Is when you break a song down, maybe a 3.5-minute song, you may find that there's only two parts. There's only a chorus and a verse, or maybe a chorus and verse and bridge, or maybe an intro and a chorus and a verse, or whatever, right? Nonetheless, when you understand that, and then you understand that that verse, and oftentimes the chorus, are repetitions of the same chord progression that you just played, then you're going to find that things are way easier. That, in fact, instead of learning 4 minutes of random notes from all over the universe, you're going to find out, nope, it's the same 4 chords, played in a couple different orders with lots of repetition. And once you realize that, by breaking a song down and charting it, okay, when you're looking at these charts, these lyric chord charts on wherever, Ultimate Guitar, you're not seeing the structure like I teach in the Unstoppable Guitar System. You're not seeing that structure because you're just seeing, okay, well now for this word there's an A minor, and for this word there's a F, and for this word there's a C. How am I going to memorize all that? But if you were to take that and see, you know, that a basic chord progression might be now you're adding finger picking and everything else, and those things may distract you to think that it's actually more complicated than it is, when in fact it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 99% of the time, chord progressions are 4 measures with 4 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so once you start realizing that, then you will mentally go, it's just the same stuff over and over again, right? And then you're going to know these songs. But trust me, you do have to understand what the chord progression is beforehand. Little nuances and stuff like that, no, those will take some time, but you can get the basic structure of it fairly quickly, okay? Stafford's saying 365 has some exercises for stretching. Indeed, lots of exercises for stretching, right? That's a whole section of the course, actually, is stretch and reach. Oh, impulse response for direct recording. Man, I'm just either a big dummy or I don't even know what that would mean, impulse response. Maybe Mike, you can check that out for me. What is impulse response?
Your Kemper can do that. That's how they model.
A dynamic systems of output when inputted with a brief input signal. Yeah, I'm still lost. That's like someone explaining Bitcoin to me.
It's measuring the sound waves, essentially, and then your Kemper can read that and puts out. It's how your Kemper's modeling the amps it's trying to model.
Gotcha. Okay. Impulse response.
I'm trying to make it as short as possible.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's helpful. Okay, impulse response. Okay, gotcha. Yep, still don't know. I can't help you there, so I don't know. I use a Kemper. It's a profiler. It's different than a regular amp in that it profiles an amp. You put an amp in front of it, put the microphones on it. It sounds like a daggone spaceship is landing, and it puts all sorts of frequencies through that amp, and it's recording it with the microphone that's going into the amp, and then it says, hey, this speaker has this much brightness and these frequencies and this much distortion, da-da-da-da-da, and it computes? Sure, let's invent a new word. Computes, compulate. That's a great word, though. It makes sense, doesn't it? It takes that and then it puts it into something that we understand, like a 59 bassman or something like that, you know? Okay, phrasing tips. AJ is saying AJM, not AJ Gent. He doesn't need any phrasing tips. AJ, phrasing tips. We all need phrasing tips. Here's the deal. Phrase like you're talking. That's what you want to do. You want to play guitar like you talk, right? You know, I'm going to take pause. I'm going to breathe. That's what we do when we speak. We have inflection. And when we ask a question, we might say something like, how are you doing today? And that goes up at the end, and we know what that means, right? We're using inflection, we're using breath, that sort of thing, and that's what you want to do when you're playing. That being said, AJ, there's if you're inside UGS, the minimalistic blues, in the upper left-hand corner with the magnifying glass search, minimalistic blues, I have a whole course on this. Will absolutely get you to understand phrasing once and for all. It's not hard. It has much to do with speaking. I have a free video for you on YouTube on that subject. So search YourGuitarSage minimalistic blues, and you're going to find, if you just start typing that, it'll auto-propagate, okay? Okay. Henry is on acoustic. A B minor is difficult for me, always has been. What options do you recommend? Henry, number one, there is no really other options for a B minor chord. It's one of those chords that you just have to learn. The F has, the F chord is, you can kind of get around that. But for the most part, you gotta just play an F chord. B minor, there's no substitution, you gotta do it. So Henry, here's what to do. Watch this video. I'm just gonna tell you it right now, so get ready to write it down. Don't not do it, because that's what you just asked, so I'm giving you the solution. Search effing, E-F-F-I-N-G, F chord, effing F chord on YouTube, and I'll walk you through this. It's about breaking the chord down to 2, 3, 4 note sections, and to understand where your true Achilles heel is, where the chink in your armor really is, as opposed to you just going, B minor is difficult for me. Okay, great. You got that chord down, or you know that it's that chord, so you're isolating some. You're doing it already. You're not saying I suck at chords. You're saying that B minor is difficult for me. Great. Let's go drill down further. What about that B minor chord? Okay, well, honestly, it's just this one part here by my second finger. Awesome. Okay, let's just work on that. Instead of just, I suck at B minor, let's work on that one part of the B minor chord by isolating it, and then once you get that, you're going to get to that B minor chord so much quicker, okay? That's what that effing F chord is going to help you, because it's the same exact shape, right? We're just down one string. It's the same exact shape as the F chord. If you do that, you're going to be golden, I promise you, okay? Okay, Nicholas is saying, I spend so much time with Eric. My goldfish left me. Inversion chord patterns. Okay, an inversion, inversion chord patterns, number one, that's not really a question, because an inversion is a type of chord. So there's not like certain inversion chord patterns. There's inversions, and then there's chord patterns. And you could use inversions in chord patterns, but inversion chord patterns, I'd have to know specifically. You're not going to have to phrase that into a sentence so I know exactly what you're talking about. But an inversion is this. An inversion is when we have a chord by a letter name, which is all of them, E major, E minor, D major, D minor 7, whatever. It starts with the letter D. And what that usually means is, well, it means that the root of the chord is that letter. So we have the root note, the D, and if we're gonna make a D minor chord, then we do the things that makes it a B minor. We want to do a D7, then we do the things that makes it a D7, but it's all based off of the D. And the math that's on top of it is all based upon that, okay? Good. So that's what we call, that's just a chord. And inversion is when we take a note other than the letter name of the chord. So if it's a D chord, we take any note that's in the chord other than the D, and we put it as the very lowest note. Okay, and then it inverts the sound, it changes it a bit. So for instance, if we take a D major, and I put an A in the bass, because an A is in a D chord, it's a D, A, F sharp. So if I put an A in the bass, there's D with a D in the bass, here's a D with an A in the bass. Sounds pretty big, right? So there you go. So that's what an inversion is, when you put some, like a D chord, if you want to put an F sharp in the bass. So here's a regular D, D in the bass, D with an A in the bass, D with an F sharp in the bass. Those are all inversions, but they're all based off of the D chord. Cool? Ryan's saying, how big is the one meal? It is probably what 2 people could eat. So usually when I go, I'll order like a full meal and like maybe an appetizer, or maybe even 2 meals. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, so like for instance, this morning I had, as you guys know, I try to eat as plant-based as possible. I do eat eggs if they are pasture raised, which means they don't kill the chickens, and the chickens get to roam around and eat bugs like God intended them to do, and eat grass instead of corn and all this other bullcrap that they feed these poor babies. Anyhow, bad for them, terrible for you. So if you're eating eggs that aren't pasture raised, then you're eating bad eggs. They're not good for you. I'm not going to get into all that. Anyhow, I do eat eggs on occasion, if they're pasture raised, if they're humane, and all the rest. And this morning I ate, so I had a piece of avocado toast that was basically, everything was organic, made by this local restaurant here. Avocado toast, 3 eggs, and then I also had a piece of toast with jelly, and then I also had a salad. So a pretty good sized salad. So, and it's no problem. And I had a whole paleo brownie, organic paleo brownie. So it was quite a bit. And then I had a power drink. And then, no, I'm joking. That's it. That's all I had. But that was quite a bit of food. And God, I feel great. Feel fantastic. I'm going to keep doing that. I've done 2 meals a day for like the longest time. And then I'm like, I think I'm gonna go 1 meal to see what that's like. So I've only been doing this for 3 days, but it's fantastic. And it's not to say that I won't break it, but it has to be a reason. Like we're out to lunch with somebody, or it's a celebration or something. Dippity-doo or Brill cream? Great question, Brian. So I have like, he's talking about my hair, what I put in my hair. So I use like a wax, because this way I can put my hands through my hair, and it's not all stiff or anything like that. I do like that wet look, like Brill cream and all that stuff, but I use a wax because it's kind of a drier look. Embrace the suck, indeed. That's what the Marines say, right, Mike?
Lots of people say that.
That's what people say. The Marines say.
That's a military thing, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you're so welcome, David. All right, sweet. Okay, Oh, we're at the 1 hour mark here. All right. Oh yes, friends, if you would, please like this video right now. Please like it. If I've brought something to you today, if I've helped in any way, it's super easy. You just hit that thumbs up button, because that will let other folks know what it is that we're doing here, and it's a kind gesture for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, man. Is his name. Hey, which is a great way to start off if that's your name. Hey, man. Hey, why is it so hard to do bar chords on acoustic? Question mark, 10 million of them. Hey, man, it's because your hand is not developed yet. Okay, when we pick something up, if I pick up my ninja pedal here, I palm it. It goes in the palm of my hand, right? I tuck it in there because we don't want to drop it. We don't carry things around like this unless we want to drop them. But this is the exact motion that we're doing when we're playing a bar chord. We have this big old hole right here, and the leverage is not, it's not like we're gripping it, we're wrapping around it and just holding it in place. We're actually having to use muscles to do that. So here's the deal with bar chords is 2 things, technique and strength. So what we lack for in technique, we try to make up for in strength, but if we're not used to using bar chords, we don't have either. We don't have the technique, we don't have the strength, but usually we're just hardcore gripping that thing, and then our hands get very tired very quickly. As your technique gets better, you won't have to use as much strength. So what I would tell you to do, hey man, is to get your technique better. If your technique's better, you don't have to press as hard, but at the same time, you will be building strength. Hey man, check this video out. On YouTube, effing F chord, the same one that I prescribed for the other listener or watcher. E-F-F-I-N-G. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break that F chord down to you in 2 notes, okay, intervals, double stops. And then we're going to do 3 notes at a time, and then 4 notes. And what we're going to do is we're going to find out where your Achilles heel is for that specific chord. And if you understand how to play that F chord, it opens up to hundreds of chords immediately, okay, if you understand how to use a bar chord, okay? Awesome. All right, sweet. Great question, though. Oh, friend, also, too. Hey, man, start at the YourGuitarSage.com/30. Everybody. There's no one that should not be going through that. I don't care who you are, okay? Marines say food is a crutch. That's hilarious. Oh, did I change the ninja? What's that, Mike?
So is sleep.
What's that? So is sleep, right? Did I change the ninja? No. Does it look different to you? If you are, oh, I know you're observing the knobs, right? This is a prototype, and it actually has a switch here on the side, which is the switch that if you have it, right, the switch is in the middle here. So this was one of many prototypes. something in there, mouse or something. But that was a prototype, so that's why it looks different. That being said, these are the knobs that I wanted to get, but strange, you can't get too many things from China right now. So, and that's where a lot of those knobs come from, so we're using other knobs right now, unfortunately, running into it left and right. Okay, friends, couple things very quickly. If you're not already, thank you so much. Somebody who wrote 30 there. They're in the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard. If you're in that, if you've ever gone through it, please let everybody know and put 30 in the chat there. Let them know that you're doing that. If you're a pro, let them know that you're pro, because these folks watching are serious about playing guitar. We want you to be as well. Get in the free program. It's right here. I say free because I give it out for free, but it's worth a lot of money. It cost, if I walked these same lessons with you one-on-one for the amount of time it would take, be it $300, $1,000 easy for my one-on-one time to teach you these same things that I'm giving you right now for absolutely free. So take advantage of it. Or text me, 833-744-0154, and just type in free, F-R-E-E, to that number, and I will set you up with it, okay? We have a few of these left. If you want a Dueling Ninja, they're in my store. Go to YourGuitarSage.com. You'll see shop. You click on shop. You'll see them in there. If you don't have a power supply, get a power supply with it. They're super cheap, like $10. If you don't have an overdrive pedal, this thing will blow your mind, okay? Also, do not forget, Jeff Duke has a speed picking course that's also below. I think the second link below. A speed picking course, people are grabbing that like candy right now because it's like $10. It's super cheap, and it's literally, we just dropped it yesterday. Okay, jazz, if you like jazz, that's coming up soon. Chip Henderson, and also Joe Robinson with a finger style course, okay? Oh, 3 of those courses. Those are going to be absolutely amazing. We cannot wait for those. We're going to be doing all sorts of giveaways for all. Thank you so much for everybody saying 30 and pro and proud and all that good stuff. I love it. Yay. Fantastic, my friends. Love you so much. Great questions. I will see you guys next week. And if you're in UGS, I'm going to see you guys in like 20 minutes for another live personal. Okay? Let's do it. See ya.